Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining me here. This is betoparedes. You are here for the Thursday morning mindset. So Thursday's an interesting. Listen to me talk. An interesting day. I can tell you that I've been doing sales for a very long time. For I would even say at least 18 years, maybe longer than that, if I was to kind of dig deeper back into some of the experience I had even before I became a business owner. And there's a certain way of looking at sales that will help you out quite a bit in understanding the best step or best valuation in developing the relationships that you need to develop in order for sales to happen. So if you're new to the mindset, grab yourself a pen, grab a notebook. Let's make some notes today. I do these every morning, put a little bit of fire in your cup and get you going today. Now, the reason I'm talking about Thursday specifically, Thursday's a really good day for sales. In fact, in all the time that I've been doing sales, Thursdays always seem to be the best day, right? Fridays are terrible. Okay, now doesn't mean that you don't try. Remember, my whole diction there is on Fridays you have to work twice as hard because everyone's working half as hard if you want the same results, right? But Thursdays are the best day for sales. Okay, you'd think maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, that there's a window between Tuesday and Thursday that's kind of your best time during the week. But Thursday's the absolute best day. And I think the reason is, after all the times that I've had better success on a Thursday, is that, the individuals you're speaking with, their week's kind of gone by well enough that they've got things put away, but it's not the end of the week, right? Thursday's still a solid full-time day. And I've probably made about 50% of my sales on a Thursday, believe it or not. And it's always good if you have time to schedule your meetings on Thursdays. Now, that doesn't mean that if it's Friday of the week before that you put them all the way to Thursday of the next week. You want to bring things as close as you can, okay? Because always remember, today's the best time to do anything. Tomorrow's the second best, okay, period. But the reality is Thursdays always work out really well. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Now, I did a whole sales series, and I even talked about a little bit about this. I didn't focus on it as much as we're going to now in that, and you can find that on YouTube if you're interested in checking that out at all. But selling is the result, not the act. The act is applying influence. So what are we talking about? When you're getting on the phone, you're speaking with the prospect, you start the dialogue. If you've got this idea in your mind that you're going to do the credo of ABC, always be closing, right? You're going to sell something. You've got this kind of barrier, even this anxiety a little bit, even no matter how scripted you are, how good you are at sales, where you're waiting for that moment where you can pitch. You're waiting for that moment where you can start selling. You're waiting for that moment to where the advantages, the features, and the services, and the incredible reasons to buy from you can be presented in front of somebody that you're talking with. And of course, in diction of moving forward, you do have to, at one point, explain what you're here to sell. But if you change your mind a little bit about who is the primary driver in the conversation, from you being the presenter and you being the one who's selling something, to them being the individual you're trying to influence. Okay, you want to have an influence on the person you're talking with. Now, just recently, we just did a mindset on character. Okay, people are influenced by other people's characters, just for as an example. And the first step in influencing an individual is listening. Okay, listening to what they have to say, asking them a lot of questions. And I'm gonna use kind of a Tony Robbins diction here. He got up in front of a group of salespeople, and I've watched so many of his videos I couldn't tell you who he was in front of. It was probably some network marketing group, and he had everyone raise their hand. How many here feel that sales is slimy? Okay, negative. And a few people raised their hands, and he spent the next 10 minutes trying to explain what sales actually was. And he used one particular example I really liked. The example that he used was when you're trying to get your child to do something, your son, to do something better for himself. Okay, for him to not act a certain way, for him to spend time on things that are valuable and not waste time, less time on the Xbox, more time reading a book, whatever it might be. Your plan is to influence that person. Okay, now obviously you live with your son, you know your son extremely well. And so there's a lot that you know about their actions and their activities. And so you have a clear understanding of what it is that you're trying to do when you influence them. So the reality is, if you were to sit down and have a conversation with your son, or just take actions to sit with him and say, hey, I'm going to read, or hey, let's get outside, whatever it might be, you're actually in the mode of influencing your son, but you're really selling something to him. Okay, you're selling that idea that there's something much more valuable to do with your time because you care about his future. Okay, you care about where he's going. You care about his success in life. He's your son. And so you're going to do as much as you can without being in violation of his privacy per se or pushing too hard. You're going to try your best to influence him to do things that you know are going to be beneficial to him. Okay, now if you think about it, if you've got children, this is something we do all the time. Okay, it's consistent, constant. We're always doing it. Okay, if you care about someone and you know that there's things that you know that is valuable, you're going to try to influence them. So what is the definition of influence? I got this out of the Google Dictionary today. The capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something, or the effect itself. Okay, you're trying to influence your son to be inspired to do things the way you know will be more beneficial to however he may be acting. Okay, so there's an outcome that you're looking for. You're looking for behavior from your son, right? And so you're talking about things, you're showing yourself as an example, doing things. You're giving stories, telling stories about how you had certain things going on. I used to, I didn't play Xbox, but I used to play too much ping pong, and then I started really reading books, and it led to X, right? You start giving the dialogue. There's all these things that you do to try to influence your son to kind of move in his character or mold his character in such a way that he's starting to go the right direction in life. Well, that's pretty consistent, and I don't think anybody here on this call is nervous about doing those things, right? Is worried about that point where you have to be like, okay, now it's time to present to my son why it's better for him to do this than be on the Xbox. You're comfortable, you're relaxed, you're more wanting to kind of create this atmosphere where he feels inspired to do things differently. Okay, when we're in sales, as long as you believe in your product, okay, if you believe your product's going to help the individual that you're speaking with, you want to kind of take that same approach. You're trying to get them to be inspired to see things differently in their business. Okay, and if you probably heard the diction, telling isn't selling. Sitting there and telling them about every little piece of your product, especially when it comes to software. I've been selling software for a really long time, and some of the biggest mistakes we've made in the past is I'll have one of my presenters get on the phone, and they just show them everything about the software. And by the time we're done, we haven't even had a conversation with the individuals. They say thank you very much. We never talk to them again. If you want to understand how to influence your potential prospect to actually see and be inspired by what you're selling them, see it in their future, see a difference in their business by buying from you, you have to listen for a while. You have to ask questions because you can't influence someone if you don't understand them. And it's a much better place to be postured in a conversation. When you're poised to listen for the cues of where you may be able to influence them personally on things that is going to improve their business model based off of your product, you lose a little bit of the anxiety as well, where you're just kind of waiting. What am I going to start selling? When am I going to put this on the table? When can I talk about the features? I wonder how he's going to feel when I tell him what the price is. You're more listening to them like you would listen to your son. Okay, you're listening to what they have to say. You're trying to understand their world enough so that you can become an influence in their world to make a better decision about the direction that they're going. Very similar story, maybe different environment than your kid. And Robin's kind of like played this out on stage, and man, I just loved that. I just love that because that is what you're doing in sales. Okay, you're working to influence individuals to make better decisions for their business. If you truly believe that what you offer is going to make a difference for the company you're selling to, and you're convinced that it will, that's why you're selling it, right? Besides making some money, of course, then you should be comfortable knowing that the more you listen to them talk and the more you understand about their business, the easier it's going to be for you to help them understand and influence them. Okay. Again, let's read this a little bit and talk into that a little bit more. So the capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone. So you want them to behave differently about the business that they're operating. Think about that for a minute. Just like we were talking about wanting to influence your son to decide not to play Xbox. You can always ban him from it. Okay, but how effective is that? All of a sudden he's over at his friend's house because his friend has an Xbox and he's not home anymore. Right? You're wanting your prospect to behave differently. Okay, think about that comment. Okay, not just have a reason to buy or find what you're selling valuable, but to actually behave differently, to change their character about the way they're operating their business. Okay, because it's a change in character, it's a change in their behavior that's going to get them to stroke a check. Because now they believe that by adding your product or service and engaging that product and service in their business, that they're going to see a much more successful future. And believe me, if they're using something they've never used before, a new marketing system, marketing services maybe, or whatever it is that you're selling or offering, they're going to have to behave differently moving forward in their business model because now they have your product or service at their advantage. They've got to use things differently. They've got to act differently, okay? So you want to let them talk and look for where you can start influencing them to see the future that they have in their company differently and encourage them to start behaving in such a way that the product or service that you have is being utilized by them, building a better future for their company. Influence them, influence their behavior, influence the way they're thinking about things in the future. When you switch from selling to influencing, your sales will skyrocket. You'll see 2 to 3 times as much going on in your sales cycle. It is a little bit more complex, or at least takes a little bit more thought to sit back and be patient and listen to where you can actually influence the individual towards a better opportunity working with you. But it's not that big of a switch. The difference between, and if you've ever worked in a really big sales office, right? The difference between the guys that are making the 7 figures from the guys that are making the 6 is this one tool, okay? And when you see an individual salesperson and you're like, man, that guy's seasoned. He's so good on the phone. Man, I love being on these calls. When he's on them, I'm always learning so much. Start paying attention to the senior level salespeople around you if you have an opportunity for that. And you will notice that the primary driver of their conversation is influence and not sales. Okay, it's this one switch. If you make that, you will start doing so much better. Selling is the result, not the act. Okay, by influencing them to behave differently about the way they see the future of their business with your product, by helping them shape their character to accept the opportunity and see it cast into the future and making more money for them, being better for their business model, helping their employees out, whatever it might be, you've already got them sold. Okay, selling is the result of influencing. It's not the act. Okay, the act is actually applying influence. Okay, so let's work on that. Okay, maybe we'll do a few more sales trainings. I think those have been very valuable for everybody. And it's Thursday. It's a good sales day. Let's get out there and actually close some deals today. How's that sound? Because more than likely, your prospects are going to be more open today than they are on most other days. So thank you for joining me. I will be back here again tomorrow morning.